My name is Adam Roosevelt. I am the former Republican nominee for Virginia's 49th Legislative District. Today I will be addressing the recent Senate Intelligence Committee's hearing on election security. I'd first like to start by saying thank you to the chairman and the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. I'd also like to say thank you to the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, and also thank you to the former Department of Homeland Security Secretary Jeh Johnson. The topic at hand is very important, and I will talk about why it is important. So, election security. We have a multitude of elections going on across our nation, local, state, and at the federal level. What's important to understand as we talk about our local elections, and I'll just name a few positions for instance, we've got our county board, we've got our school board elections, we've got our governor and lieutenant governor, attorney general elections. At the state level, we've got our congressional elections, we've got our Senate elections. Folks, this is important primarily because we have to understand that when we elect leaders that have been defined as the representative voices of our communities and of our country, we must preserve and protect the integrity of that process. I saw today, I think that is very important, a scenario laid out by Senator Marco Rubio that is realistic. I think it can be carried out by a country like Russia or a foreign terrorist organization that would like to be involved in engaging in activities that will degrade the American commitment to our processes, that will degrade the American faith in terms of the trust and integrity that we have in our democratic processes, and that has a multitude of benefits for organizations and countries that do not support the American democratic processes. We as a people must understand that we have to do at all costs protect our critical infrastructure. And I'm very happy to say that they have identified cybersecurity election assets as such. Some of the agencies that I think that will be paramount in ensuring that we move forward with this particular discussion, as we use terms like whole of government, as we use terms like unity of effort, the Department of Homeland Security, I think, is well positioned to do this. I think the Department of Homeland Security, in conjunction with other partners, such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, such as the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, such as the NSA, such as other organizations, and especially our Department of Justice, who will be spearheading, I believe, our legal framework. So I'll kind of come to the conclusion of where I would like to say my point is very made here. I would like to recommend, based on that discussion from today, that we start to look at enhancing our legal framework and building a coalition with our particular partners beyond just the general statements, beyond just what we say in terms of here's a strategy. We need to make sure that there is a wet signature on these documents and that there's a plan of action, one, to establish rules of behavior in cyberspace, not just within the United States, but also within the NATO partnerships and the United Nations, and also other countries that have not been integrated into that fabric. We need to, as a coalition, ensure that we have a strategy, one, to investigate those who would intend to bring harm to us as a people, us as a nation, and our partners abroad. We need to ensure that we lay the foundation for rules of behavior, and if those rules are not complied with by participating members or by outside countries, we have a strategy in place to employ diplomatic, I'll be frank, measures that will increase how we are particularly viewed in the global arena. One of the things that I think we can do in terms of sanctions from a diplomatic and trade perspective is we can enforce sanctions, and we've already employed those methods. But I would look at that as more on the linear side of punishing certain actors who would effectively be trying to engage themselves in this particular activity. But we also need to have a military science strategy with the United States Department of Defense and also our other members who are participating, particularly in the United Nations and NATO, that will, one, have a formidable strike force that will allow us to dish out a payload if we have countries like Russia or North Korea who effectively want to engage in said activities. I think that our military strike capacity should be laid out in collaboration with our coalition partners so that we set the rules here and how we go forward, because if all else fails and our election security is not one of the final priorities here, we will see a degradation in trust of the American people, our processes, and if all else fails, the influence of Russia, the influence of North Korea, and the influence of other organizations or countries will be able to determine how we select our United States president, will determine how we select our senators, our governors, our lieutenant governors, and our attorney generals. We cannot allow the faith of the American people to be degraded. We cannot allow the integrity of our systems to be degraded. And I'll say here lastly, it is always an honor to weigh in on these particular subjects because they are important. They really remain our generation's number one priority. But let us enhance our homeland security. Let us enhance our national security by addressing the topics at hand and reporting to Congress our plan of action so that we can begin to measure our success over the next duration of time. And I think that it's important to say that our officials within the Trump administration are doing the best that they can and a fine job. And I'm very proud of the nominations that have been forward to the Department of Homeland Security and just a continued fine job. I look forward to continuing to support the administration's efforts in any way possible. And let us talk about the issues at hand that remain a priority one for our country. Cyber, which in terms of election security, border security, which in terms is under the umbrella of Homeland Security and aviation security, and many other topics, but let us have the discussion now to establish a plan of action that we can continue to protect the American people. May God bless the President, the Vice President, members of the Trump administration, members of both political parties as we move forward and establish a robust strategy for national security and homeland security. God bless you all. God bless the United States of America, and we'll talk to you soon.